Do you know what the Democrats have in Illinois? They have more than 83% of the lines, and the Republicans over. Yeah, but you haven't done one show on that.
That's not true. We do it all the time.
But Pritzker has. That's what Pritzker already did.
I just showed the map with all.
You showed the map then, but what did we do when Pritzker did about that? The only person who's going around their Constitution right now is Gavin.
Dana Bash didn't realize she was going up against a pro that would use her own tactics against her. And the more she kept barraging Kevin McCarthy with the same question, he kept barraging her right back with the same answer. It's Sean Daniel here, and if you love seeing that finger wag at a CNN host, hit that like button or subscribe for more. Helps me out a lot. Now let's go.
Let's start and just to underscore the difference between Texas and California. In Texas, the new maps can and likely will be adopted by special session and signed into law as soon as tonight. In California, it is the voters who are going to decide by a ballot measure in November. You are working to defeat it. What's your plan?
Well, let's also say, why is it different from Texas to California? Because we both have state constitutions. And the Constitution in California says you have a commission. That was decided by the people in 2011 by 61%. It's even more popular today. It also says in there that those on the commission cannot run for office of these seats for 10 years. But you know what? These legislators who are voting on this are planning to run for these seats in less than a year. But what we found is California, because Gavin wants to become the nominee for president, he's going to go against the Constitution. He wants to now have individuals pick the voters instead of the voters selecting who they are. And if you think about it for one moment, in Texas, they have the right to legislators draw their lines. But even if this goes through in Texas, the Republicans will have about 70-some% of the seats. Already in California, where Republicans vote almost 40%, we only have 17%. Democrats have 83. It's more than 5 seats, it's 9 seats, because in California you have 9 swing seats. They changed that. And remember, when they drew it this way and Democrats had the advantage, we were sitting in the minority. We didn't run away as Republicans. We won 5 more seats while Nancy Pelosi was Speaker and won the majority. But this is something that could be very dangerous nationwide if the Democrats move forward, because Republicans could do this in more states than the Democrats can.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I want to follow up on a lot of what you just said. But just going back to my initial question, what is your plan? How are you going to work to
there are so many people and so many groups. It's not a Republican versus Democrat. It is a united front with people all doing. Look, the former governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's not tied with Republicans, but he has been fighting gerrymandering for 20 years. He was the governor behind doing this to let the people have the power. He's going to go out and try to fight the politicians. You have Democrats who sat on the commission who thinks it's wrong, who's going out there. You have Charles Munger, who is just a good government individual. He, along with League of Women Voters and others, have stood up against it.
There's a report that he's going to give you, well, first of all, are you planning on spending $100 million?
Charles Munger is not providing money to me. Charles Munger is providing his money to fight what he thinks is wrong in his own entity.
Are you working with that entity? How are you
That entity goes and does what it's going to do. There's a lot of groups. This is so unpopular. So many groups that have come from different parties. They don't want to see California go against their Constitution. They want to have a competition in their races. As voters, they want to be able to select who represents them instead of the politicians picking them.
So I just want to be clear. So you, Kevin McCarthy, you're not raising money?
I will help another entity raise money to do our part.
And is it your goal to help? Well, what is that entity? Do you know
My goal is to help California to the voters pick their own elected officials.
Through what entity?
To keep the commission. We have Right Path that I will help with. Charles Munger and League of Women Voters have their own. Governor Schwarzenegger, he's off on his own. It's a unique group out there.
Are you going to try to raise $100 million? That's been reported.
That's a lot of money.
No, I know. It's been reported. I'm just trying to figure out if it's accurate.
I think there's a lot of these members we help be able to run. I want to be able to help them any way I can.
Okay, so you are fundraising for it.
Yes.
And you're obviously speaking out. You're here doing it.
Sounds like her producer before the show told her to pin Kevin McCarthy on if he's fundraising for it, because somehow that's illegal to fundraise behind a cause that you believe in politics. What? But do you notice he brought up that Gavin Newsom is possibly going to break the California Constitution? in this whole procedure of trying to get redistricting done, of not having the people run in those new districts that vote on it now, and keeping the voting power for these redistricting to the people. She didn't touch on any of that. She just wanted to aim on the money thing, which probably came from a producer, because somehow to the viewer that watches CNN or watches the news, it's evil if these guys fundraise for a cause. That's what politics is. And it was eye-opening to hear from Kevin McCarthy how many people are trying to put forth an effort, coalition to stop this redistricting in California. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Charles Munger. Now you have Kevin McCarthy, who used to be the former House, Speaker of the House. Those are some big dogs going up against Gavin Newsom.
Okay, going back to Texas, absolutely, there's a difference in the constitutions and how the lines are being drawn and whether they can. Just fundamentally, just back to basics, are you okay with the way that Texas Republicans are redrawing the lines mid-decade?
Look, I think anytime people play with this, things move. You try to draw a line because you think last election, President Trump did exceptionally well. That doesn't mean the Republicans did well. President Trump did well. Those were President Trump voters. I think that stuff always blows back on you. Look, I'm a big believer in commissions. On my very first day, I first served in the state assembly. On your very first day you're sworn in, you're allowed to introduce one bill. You know what my first bill was? A citizens commission when it came to drawing the lines. I believe in competition. I believe in voters. Make your elected officials compete for your vote. Have the idea win at the end of the day. Structure dictates behavior. But what California is doing after the voters voted for it, overwhelmingly to pass with 61%, to just ignore that and say, oh, I don't like what some other state is doing, that's not who we are.
I just want to make sure I understand your answer before. Do you think that what Texas is doing is a mistake?
Look, Texas has a right to do what they're going to do,
but
and
what
the
do you
voters
think?
make a
You were
decision.
the highest Republican
I'm a big believer
in
citizens commissions. I think that's a better way to go about doing it. But we have a 10th Amendment. Every state gets to determine their own way. Look, I didn't like it in the last cycle when New York went and redrew lines because they wanted to take more Republicans out. I didn't like what Pritzker did when he took away, had 83% of the vote, even though 40% is Republicans, when he gerrymandered all the Republicans out. I didn't like that, and I fought that. I didn't like last cycle when Louisiana gave up a Republican seat and Garrett Graves couldn't run again, and they drew a big, long gerrymander picking out who could vote for it. No, I fought all of those. I'm very consistent in this.
Can I just show, because I'm glad you brought that up. We just were looking around, and Princeton has a really good map of the states and how they've gerrymandered, if we can put this up. And it does show, to your point, if you look at California right now, yellow means it's one of the best because of the independent commission.
Yes.
But if you look
Illinois is an F, the worst.
Yeah, Illinois is in red. Red in this map, for everybody to understand, means it's the worst. It's terrible gerrymandering. But if you see there, for people who know their politics and know their maps, there are blue states and there are red states. This is a very real bipartisan issue.
Yes.
So just to put that on the table. Do you think there should be an independent commission in Texas?
I think the states get to decide. That's not my role. I
Not
had
your role, but you have an opinion.
But you have a 10th Amendment. I can't go in and tell the states what their speed limit should be either. But the one thing I had a role in when I was a California state legislator, this is where I stood and this is what I believe in. And I believe the California voter got to decide that. So this is what I believe. Let the voter decide. And if the voter changed the Constitution for it, you don't have a right to throw it out. And you know what they have now done to these cities and counties that don't have a say? They have gone in and out of cities and counties more than 100 different times, breaking them up. They make San Francisco tied to a city 4 hours away that they have nothing in common together.
Despite Kevin McCarthy being honest about how he likes there to be coalitions where voters vote on the districts being redrawn, she cannot let it go because she needs to have on record him going against and saying that what Texas is doing is bad. He's a pro, man. He knows how to do this. He's not going to be swayed by some little Dana Bash. The guy was the Speaker of the House. And it's sad because some people like Dana Bash, maybe they got into politics for the right reasons. Maybe they wanted to share some things that were going on. Maybe they wanted to highlight the truth. But look at how they become transformed, probably in order to keep their big spotlight, big paycheck, and big job. They become transformed into these professional gotcha question askers. He's already being transparent with you that he doesn't really like what Texas is doing. But she can't let go until he makes this bad bag statement. But the exciting thing is that Kevin McCarthy will not let go, exactly what she keeps trying to harp on, and we're going to see that towards the end.
You say that you were for a Citizens Commission back when you started. Of course, this was, and you're making this point, this was on the ballot twice in California.
Yeah, you know who fought it when it was on the ballot? Nancy Pelosi and Gavin. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to defeat it. And if you looked at your New York map, you know why the New York map is yellow? Because the courts defeated the legislature from drawing a map that wanted to be partisan.
Did you
but they
support
went back
it?
the Democrats.
Did you campaign for it in 2008 and 2011?
Yes, I did.
Campaign for it.
Yes, for the initiative. But the Democrats opposed it. The Democrats are using this right now because they want to pick the voters instead of letting the voters decide.
Going back to Texas.
Yes.
They are doing exactly that. They are redrawing the lines.
Because that's what their Constitution allows them to do.
But it's because mid-decade, it's because that's what President Trump is asking them to do.
No,
Let's just listen to what President Trump said.
Texas would be the biggest one, and
So
that'll be fine.
are you calling then for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
If that was a Democratic president starting this whole thing mid-decade, asking a Democratic-controlled legislature to redraw the maps and pick up 5 seats, you would understandably be hitting the roof.
Okay, I would understandably be going. California, Republicans vote 39%. They have 17% of the vote. They'll now be down to 6%. Democrats have 83%. You're very upset about Texas. You know what Republicans will have in Texas after they have 56% of the vote? About 72%. Do you know what the Democrats have in Illinois? They have more than 83% of the lines, and the Republicans over. Yeah, but you haven't done one show on that.
That's not true. We do it all the time.
But Pritzker has. That's what Pritzker already did.
I just showed the map with all.
You showed the map then, but what did we do when Pritzker did about that? Each state has their right, and you know what? The Republicans in Illinois didn't run away from the state. You know what? In California, when they did that, we didn't run away. We competed. Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, and I won the majority by 5 seats. And you know what? I won those 5 seats in California, which people believe it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So I believe the voters should have the say. That's all this is about. And each state has their own constitution. California has a constitution, and we now have a governor that wants to change the constitution for his own political belief. We have a governor who spends more time on this instead of trying to encourage Bed Bath & Beyond to move back to California.
Let's go, Kevin. Let's go. Hit that like button if you're enjoying that. This is a professional pivot he's doing. He's answering the question relatively that he doesn't like what Texas is doing, and she's just trying to harp on the negatives of what Texas is doing under Trump. But he's doing a great job of bringing back to the point that they've probably done 15, 20 shows the last 2 weeks on this Texas redrawing thing. That's probably a low number. But I bet you they never, ever talk about what Illinois has done. Have you looked at that Illinois map?
Do you think that, again, this is all going to be up to the people of California?
Yes,
because it is
I
in the
hope-
Constitution.
I hope they take what I believe is the right position, the position they've already taken once before with 61%. Uphold the Constitution and said, stop playing politics in California. We want to decide who's going to represent us. That doesn't guarantee a Republican or Democrat to win. What that means is the voters has the power to decide who that is.
Assuming that Texas does what it does, and maybe even California, maybe
if
even
California
regardless.
does what it does,
Yeah.
what's going to happen is
Yeah.
you're going to see Missouri.
Yeah.
Ohio has to do it because it's in their law that they have to go back and draw right now. But you could see Missouri do it. You could see Indiana do it. And what will happen here is Republicans will have an advantage in doing this. And they'll change. But we will be such a divided nation long term. It'll be more of a red and blue state.
Totally.
But your policies will be off. This is not what we want. I served in a Congress where I served in the minority, majority. I want the voters to decide, are our ideas best? We should be in power or throw us out.
Do you think that those Republican legislatures in other states will move like Texas did, regardless of what California does?
I think those in Republican states will uphold their Constitution. They won't do what Gavin Newsom does. I haven't seen one Republican state do something different than their Constitution. The only person who's going around their Constitution right now is Gavin.
And why won't she talk negative about Gavin Newsom? Why won't CNN go after Gavin Newsom? Because he's the golden child for the 2028 election. They need the positive press, they need the positive spin, they need to build him up as this strong leader who's fighting back. And they do not want to point out that he's not following his own constitution in his state, which is the argument they make about Trump with the federal U.S. Constitution. Oh, he doesn't want to follow the Constitution even though he made an oath. They're not going to highlight this to their precious candidate possibly in 2028.
Congressman Kevin Kiley, you know him. He's a fellow Republican from California. He's proposing a bill to prohibit mid-decade redistricting. He's urging your successor, House Speaker Mike Johnson, to bring it to the floor. If you were still Speaker, would you bring that up?
I think if I was still Speaker, California wouldn't be doing this.
but you're not, and it's
I don't
happening.
think we'd be in this position, to be honest with you.
But do you think that this should be a vote in the House now?
Look, I think states get to determine that. I think if a state, well, right now, look, Kevin has a bill that's wonderful, but right now the law in California, the Constitution says the legislature can't draw lines, and today you're watching them do it.
So it's up
but
to
they
the
didn't even
states.
draw lines because the DCCC sent them the map. They won't even answer that simple question to your reporter. It says that you can't run for office if you draw the lines. But these legislators are voting and running for the office. You have a governor that's not even focused on bringing more jobs. California is going to lose more than 4 seats because our population is going down.
Yeah, it is. Just last question. I have been reporting on gerrymandering for a long time.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying on this. And I watched you as House Speaker, and it seems to me, I just wonder what you think about this, that because of gerrymandering, your job was a lot harder.
Yeah.
And one could argue that you lost your job in part because you dared to work across the aisle with Democrats to get something passed, but it's because there were so many people in such ruby red districts, just like there are in deep blue districts.
There are fewer competitive seats now. There's only 30.
Yeah.
In 2010, when we won the majority, we beat 63 Democrats.
Right.
What they're doing now is taking away 9 competitive seats in California that have flipped. When I was in, we won 5 seats. We lost 2 in the last cycle. I didn't lose my job because I worked across the aisle. I lost my job because one person slept with an underage woman, and I wasn't going to do something different when it came to the ethics committee. And I do that exact same thing today. I'll stand for what's right. Just like right now, I'm standing for the Constitution of California. The voters decide. And you know what? When they drew the lines, and I thought it could be more fair to Republicans, I didn't leave the state. I didn't try to change the rules. I sat and worked in competition and won 5 more seats to get to the majority. I think that's what the voters expect of us, to work harder, put better candidates up with a lot better ideas.
But gerrymandering makes it harder.
Gerrymandering makes it very hard. I don't like the idea of gerrymandering.
Yeah.
I like competition. Now, every seat can't be competitive just because of the nature of where you live. But what they're doing now is going and breaking these cities and states up and these counties. That's going to destroy the voters even wanting to participate. But the voters of California have a say. And look, you don't have to be Republican, Democrat, or others. But if you truly believe in your power of your own vote, you should vote against this.
Just so I can say for the record, the congressman you're referring to denies that happened, but
Yeah,
I'll just leave
but
it
the
there.
ethics report came out, and the woman that he did sleep with said, yes, it did happen.
We're going to leave it
And
there.
she was underage.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on. This
you.
is such an important topic. I
believe
appreciate
that.
it. Thank you.
That was impressive to watch because he would not let go of bringing the point back to the BS that California is trying to do. And it's funny because it's the same tactic she was trying to do. She would not let go of trying to make him say something negative about Texas. He did the exact same thing back at her. Hey, honey, I am not going to let go of my decision to fly all the way to D.C., come into your studio so I can highlight the BS going on in California, so I can highlight this massive movement that me, Charles Munger, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know if anyone else, is getting behind to stop. I'm not going to let you turn this into a Texas thing. And that was really impressive. Really, really impressive. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was cool. It's SeanDaniel here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see another CNN host get handled by, not a MAGA guy, But the Finnish president, after his big meeting in the Oval Office with Trump and all the European leaders, check out this video right here, she tries to make him talk bad about Trump, and he does not fall for it. I think you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.